Hey guys, welcome back to another Drawing with Nihongo Gamer video. I'm kind of excited because today's topic, while I'm drawing on this giant Huion tablet, is are you drawing for views or do you draw for yourself? Now this is a question that sometimes people ask themselves, but I think they often ignore the answer or just kind of pay no attention to what the answer is, or in most cases probably just never figure out any answer. They don't deny anything. It's just kind of, well, I don't really know. Am I drawing for views or am I drawing for myself? So before I get into the main topic, just thought I'd share with you what I'm actually drawing here. This is an image of a cosplayer here in Japan called Enako. She was in a photography magazine. I just found it again on Amazon Kindle Unlimited, so it's super convenient that it's a free magazine, but it's also just there's just less noise. You know, you go on Google Images and you search for cosplayer in a pose and you find 6 billion images, and how do you choose? And you end up just wasting 10 or 15 minutes searching for an image that looks interesting. Whereas if you just go on Kindle Unlimited, it's just like, okay, well, this is the magazine. At least if you just choose the magazine and just force yourself to draw an image from that magazine, then you're not worried. You're not wasting time on something that isn't drawing. It's like the main thing is you need to just get the drawing done. Again, of course, I'm just really talking to myself there. So getting back to the topic, with drawing for views or drawing for yourself, it's obvious that there's no right or wrong answer, and that's not the point of this discussion. I'm not trying to say that you should draw for views or that you should draw for yourself. I think it's just an important question to ask yourself, because like some people were commenting in one of my previous videos, is that if you draw for views only, then it can be really demotivating when the views start to disappear. When people, I don't know, maybe they find a channel that's more interesting, or maybe the YouTube algorithm just doesn't choose your channel anymore. And in that situation, the problem is if your motivation comes from the views on your videos, then you run the risk of just not improving at art anymore, just because someone else was able to control your motivation. So in one way, if you are trying to stay motivated to actually improve at art, it probably does make sense to some degree, decide to draw for yourself and not draw for views. But in this day and age, I don't feel like it's super realistic to really only draw for yourself. I mean, it's not that it's not realistic, it's just, it's so tempting, and it's also not really that damaging to put your art on Twitter or on Instagram. It gives you a little bit of a motivation boost, and it can really help. I feel like it's not completely harmful to do so. I mean, it goes. There's so much to say about it. I think you can entirely just draw for yourself, but you, in a way, might not reach your maximum potential if you keep it all to yourself, because you're like, okay, look, I'm eventually going to become this master after 10 years of drawing and not showing anything to anyone. And it could well be that, your idea was kind of flawed at the start, and maybe showing your art to other people, not just because you want validation and motivation to come from other people, but because sometimes showing your art to other people can help you find not just mistakes, but also things that you go, oh no, you're right. Actually, I am trying to make this a battle action manga, so maybe having too many of these character types or situations that I've been drawing for the past 3 years, maybe this isn't actually not getting me anywhere close to the end product that I want to create in overall. So anyway, that's the general discussion, right? Should you draw for views or should you draw for yourself? And I think if you draw for others, then it can often be the case that people can steer you closer to the direction that you actually want to go in. And they'll be like, oh, actually, I fell into that trap myself, and I'm glad that you showed your art on Twitter, because I can let you know now that I went down that path and I wasted 5 years of my life learning this one specific skill, when it turns out you can just 3D model it and it's going to be in the background anyway, and that you can spend the next 5 years on something more important, like, I don't know, drawing from imagination or getting anatomy right, or whatever it is you're trying to do. So if you are interested in like trying to figure out what you do with art, whether it's drawing for others or drawing for yourself, I feel like there are like some main questions that you need to ask yourself. When you started drawing, like right at the start, when you first got, what's the word, inspired to become a quote unquote artist, what was that like? The first things you drew, and in my case, I think I mentioned this in a previous video, but it was mostly Robotech and Sailor Moon because that was what was on TV. What did you do with those drawings? Did you show it to anyone, or did you keep it, just in a notepad, and you're just like, okay, well, that art sucked. I don't need to show it to anyone anyway. Or, even if it sucked, did you show it to people and get a little bit of a boost by showing it to your mother? And she was just like, oh, wow, you're such a great artist. And even if she's lying, that can be super helpful because you can be super motivated, even if it's not, I don't want to say lying, even if she's just being a little bit generous with her compliments, that can be really motivating and make you want to pursue the endeavor to get better and go to an art school. And, that encouragement really helps at an early stage. Anyway, I'm saying all this stuff about getting encouragement from your parents, but actually, I didn't show my drawings to anyone. I think I had just a folder. In fact, I felt like I was drawing quite a lot, and it was filling up this one blue plastic folder that I had, and it was just images that I had found online. I think at the time, I think the search engine was Alta Vista at the time, and I think I would just search, Sailor Moon Serena, Sailor Moon Ami, any of the characters that I had at that point met, from early on in the series. And I would just draw them in the pose that I saw in the image. And I felt so proud of those images. But I think, to this day, I never showed them to anyone because it didn't even matter to me whether other people saw them. I didn't want anyone to see them. I had just drawn these things because I wanted the ability to do it. Like, once I knew that it was possible to draw these characters, like, once I knew about the skill, the existence of this skill, I was like, I've got to be able to do this. And I didn't trace it. I actually looked at the image and just drew while looking at it. And eventually I started drawing lots of other characters, but in the same pose. And it was always like just the character just looking straight at the camera. As I think that's kind of standard. You don't attempt perspective and difficult poses from high angles and low angles. Anyway, that's how I started. And it's interesting thinking back on it now, because not until this day have I ever really gone back in my memory to that moment when I started and thought to myself, have I always wanted sort of validation from other people? Was I always like a YouTuber? Because, I've been doing YouTube since, 2013? So I've been doing it for like 9 years now. I can't believe I've been doing YouTube for so long. And I think in my mind, I just share everything. It's just natural. Like, why not share everything? If you put all this effort into making something, you may as well share it. But the truth is, I don't think I draw for the views, and I don't think I draw for others. It's not completely that I don't have to show my art to anyone, but I do feel like I mostly, at the heart of it, when I go back to the very initial stage of when I wanted to learn how to draw as a kid, I only really wanted to draw it because I wanted the skill of being able to do it. And then also I wanted to be able to see things that didn't exist. This is what happens with art. It's amazing because, I think one of the books I read as a kid was The Magic Paintbrush. This kid wanted to see dragons. He wanted to see tidal waves. He wanted to see anything and everything. And he had this magic paintbrush. And not only did it help, I guess he must have had the drawing skill, but it came to life. And for real life, you don't have a magic paintbrush that brings things to life. But if you do have a paintbrush and the skill, you can now see things that, don't exist. Characters that you've invented yourself. Stories that you've invented yourself. Designs and costumes and outfits that you've invented yourself. Or maybe not even invented yourself, but you've seen someone else's, fashion show and you like that outfit and you want to take advantage of it with your character, mixing and matching, synthesizing things. Well, anyway, the long and the short of it is, I think this is a huge topic, and I don't really just want to make it one video. I'd like to make it like a series that I can constantly come back to and revisit over and over again. But I actually have a bunch of other questions that I think you would ask yourself, and I want to like go over them in the future. I'll just give you like an example of some of the other questions I was thinking you would ask yourself are, who were your first audiences if you did show your art to other people? And then, going on from that, at what point did you want to take it to the next level and not just be, a person who has drawn a few things in a notepad, but become a quote unquote artist? At what point did you think, I want to go to an art school so I can do it quote unquote properly? Maybe there is no such thing as drawing properly, but I think when you're choosing your career, especially in my case, as I came from a very education heavy background, I was under the impression that anything you want to do in life, you need to go and find the tuition. You need to find the place and the people who will teach it to you. I never really felt like you can just figure out everything on your own, and to some degree, it would be a bit of a waste of time if you try to do all things on your own. But at the same time, there are a large number of things that if you do them on your own, you become far more original than if you had gone to a school. But that's a completely different topic for another time. So I'd love to revisit this topic in the future for sure. But let me ask you now. The question is, do you draw for views or do you draw for yourself? And again, there's no correct answer to this, but if you ask this question, it may give you more insight into what to draw next and what you need to improve at, so you can get closer to finding satisfaction every time you draw, as opposed to, I drew the thing that, the character, the VTuber that everybody likes right now, and wow, I got 50,000 views on it, but then when I drew the character that I actually like, I didn't get any views, and no, I don't really know what to do with myself, and I don't know what to do with my channel. Honestly, I'm going through a bit of a content crisis on my main channel, because I love all the things that I talk about on that channel, but obviously as a YouTube channel, it's a little bit unwieldy for people. I keep saying unwieldy. It's a little bit difficult for people to follow as a channel, because imagine if you turned on the sports channel and sometimes they were showing like a speed painting and be like, what? I signed up to this, I chose this channel because I want to see sports. So I recognize that the main channel is a little bit lost, but this drawing channel that you're watching right now is a part of my concerted effort to try and separate things more clearly, so that people can actually find what it is they're looking for and not be fed a lot of stuff that they're not looking for. If you haven't already subscribed to the main channel, be sure to do so. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more drawing content. You can also join me on the Nihongo Gamer Discord if you want to post some of your own art. I'm actually thinking of finding community drawn art from the Nihongo Gamer Discord and posting it here on this channel, or maybe doing collaborations or redraws. All sorts of stuff could be fun. Showcases of the Discord art. I think that could be fun in the future. Listen, if you'd like to see any of that stuff, make sure you're subscribed. Comment below with the answer to the question I just asked. Draw for views or draw for yourself. Like the video if you haven't already done so. And that's all for today. I'll see you in the next one.